All right, Minneapolis and cities across the country are bracing for a verdict in the trial of Derek Chauvin, former police officer charged in the death of George Floyd. I mean, we've had these shootings the last week or so, and we've had violence. In fact, over the weekend, there were protests in several U.S. cities, including Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, which was the site of one of those shootings last week. And they're present on the streets after curfew, if I'm not mistaken, was Congresswoman Maxine Waters. And she told demonstrators on Saturday night to stay in the streets and become more confrontational. She also said if a guilty verdict is not delivered, we cannot go away. Now, remember, this is the same Maxine Waters who 3 years ago called on people to publicly confront and harass members of the Trump administration. And she's also, by the way, the one who talked about Republicans and the president in particular, that he should be impeached for inciting violence on January the 6th. All right, let me, lest you think I'm putting words in her mouth, take a listen to what she had to say Saturday in Minnesota.
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
They need to know that we mean business. Joining me now to talk about this, Ken Blackwell, former mayor of Cincinnati, Secretary of State of the state of Ohio, and now FRC Senior Fellow for Human Rights and Constitutional Governance. Ken, welcome back to the program.
Tony, it's good to be with you, sir.
All right. Was she inciting folks there in Minnesota?
The Congresswoman is a drum major for chaos and moral relativism. She apparently doesn't have a clue as to why this country has been the most prosperous, the most diverse constitutional republic in all of human history. Tony, you know, we have here in Cincinnati Hebrew Union College, and it was started and headquartered here in Cincinnati. And one of the professors there, who was a mentor and colleague of Dr. Martin Luther King, was Abraham Joshua Heschel. And Heschel was fond of saying that respect discovers the dignity in others. Dr. King understood it, and so when he posed the question, chaos or community, he chose community, in which, in fact, we understood that unity did not mean uniformity, but it respected the human dignity of others. And as a consequence, we, in fact, pushed through and established the civil rights movement and made major reforms. Maxine Waters has taken us 2 steps backwards with her rhetoric. And she is, in fact, a coward. Because if, in fact, she wanted to confront destructive forces in our communities, she would be on the streets of Chicago. She would be on the streets of Detroit. She would be on the streets of Los Angeles, pushing back against, the forces of violence that are destroying our cities. And in fact, she would be on the front lines of defending and supporting our police departments across the country. What she's doing is calling for their defunding, their reimagination, and what she is doing is making our cities less safe.
Well, if she were on the streets of Los Angeles, she'd be a little too close to home, since that's supposed to be her district in that area. I want to be very clear. I am a strong advocate of the freedom of speech. And, I think you have the freedom to say stupid things. Now, I do think there are limits, obviously, within the law. So my beef is not so much that she is saying stupid things, because that's kind of what she does. My beef is a double standard, her double standard and the double standard by the media. I mean, this is the same woman that thought Donald Trump should be impeached for, quote unquote, inciting violence on January the 6th. Quote, we're not going to support these kinds of dangerous protesters. Look, she's up there inciting some of those. Who knows whether or not some of those had been a part of last year's burning of the city there in Minneapolis. If this trial, as she said, doesn't go the way they want it to go, They're to stay in the streets until they get justice. So what is justice then to them?
Well, Tony, that's why I said, she is a big advocate of moral relativism. And so, it is when it feels good, that's when you do it. If it crosses your purposes, you don't recognize justice, you don't recognize community because it doesn't suit your agenda. The reality is that she's not a dumb person, but she is stuck on stupid in what she's advocating. And people are becoming more and more aware of her double standards when she, in fact, incites not only confrontation, but violence against public officials. And then she wants to talk about defunding the police, men and women who are on the front lines. They're not perfect. They're not without mistakes. But
Right.
if you look at it, the good that they do is much more than the evil that she advances with her rhetoric of division and confrontation.
Ken Blackwell, we're going to we'll leave it there for today, but I'm sure we're going to revisit this issue later. As always, great to talk with you, my friend.
Good to be with you.